Back at it again. I told him double or nothing or we don't want it. So look, we just got some updates on a new fate that's been in the works. A couple of months back, Type Moon announced Fate lost Einherjar, which is a fate that takes place in a diverged timeline 10 years after Apocrypha, if you enjoyed that. And it's written by Sakurai, who was the writer for Fate Prototype Fragments. I didn't really get to talk about it back then when it first came out. It is a light novel. Goes without saying that this is fire. If you were a fan of Lost Belt 2 back in FGO or anything that was in it, Scotty, Sigurd, Brynhildr, the Valkyries, all of this goes back into Norse mythology. So to see all that come together again only expands on the lore that we already have. Now the other day there was some more design leaks of a couple of characters that's going to be in it. Some of them have already popped up before, but we're gonna go ahead and do all of them. So in our top right side we have Lagertha. She is the first wife of the Danish and Swedish king Ragnar. She's a shield maiden, meaning that she's one of the select amount of females that fought alongside their husband when it was time for war. There were a lot of women that her leader decided to throw into a brothel because he felt like it, and this inspired a lot of bad blood, a lot of abuse, and her being taken advantage of. Ragnar just so happened to be avenging his grandfather at the time, and many of these women started to join his side to go against their king. One of these women, of course, was Lagertha. He was so impressed by how she was moving on the field that he told himself, I gotta wife her up. The only thing about it is she didn't believe him, so she sent out a bear and a wolf to confirm his loyalty. He kills the bear and choked out the wolf right after. So they have their marriage, things are going good, and then after a while, Lagertha just keeps sending these tests on her husband to fight off these beasts for no reason. He's like, yo, you gotta chill. And eventually he just gets tired of it. He divorces her and goes on to have multiple other wives. In the meantime, she still loves the man. She's still out here fighting and actually saves his life in one of his campaigns. A true winner. Now, her second husband, Sigvard, at least in her eyes, was a buster. This dude was aware of what happened to her in the past, and he still didn't care. He would get drunk and abuse her. There was a time where he decided it would be a good idea to open up her garments in front of everybody to humiliate her. So she took a spearhead and put it straight through his fucking face. Damn. I mean, you get what you came for. Hope you got good insurance. And I quote, she felt like she can do a better job ruling without him. Personally, I am rocking with her design. She's described to be an Amazon with some of the highest level physique that you can have. You can tell that they were not lying, okay? It's giving me Mordred Canis vibes. Just another member to add to the tomboy coalition. Rightfully deserved. In the upper left side, we have his second wife, Thora. Apparently, after his divorce with Lagertha, she was the one that caught his attention. The thing about Thora is that her father gave her a serpent that can grow to a massive size. Where did he get this serpent? Who knows? Maybe he pulled it out his pocket. But either way, he would allow anybody that could take this serpent down to marry his daughter. So Ragnar threw on some special garments that allowed him to go through the serpent's poison. He blocked his poisonous projectiles and he sliced off his head. They have their marriage. Unfortunately, Thora would go on to pass from an illness. In our lower left hand corner, we got a big one, Sigmund, who we know to be the true father of the spirit Sigurd. He was a warrior king, and his downfall happened when his land was getting raided by another ruler. Keep in mind that Sigmund is up in age at this point in time, as you can tell through his design. He's still out here going in. He's knocking dudes out left and right. Then all of a sudden, a guy comes onto the field in a blue cloak. Old dude, he only has one eye. He goes up to confront Sigmund and pulls out a bill. Sigmund tries to swing his sword at this bill and it literally bursts into pieces. Turns out this same old head was Odin, and the sword shattering was the sign of his demise and the enemy's victory. This sword was none other than Grom. The shattered pieces of Grom would then go on to create the new version of Grom, one of the highest phantasms in the series. He never got to see his son Sigurd himself because his wife was still pregnant at his death, and Sigurd later avenged his father by carving a blood eagle into the back of the ruler that raided his lands. When it comes to his design, it reminds me of Well, it reminds me of pretty much any old dude from a series, but the one that I'm thinking of in my head specifically is Snake from Metal Gear Solid. I don't know why. All he needs is the eye patch. Maybe even the guy from The Witcher. Can't wait to see more from him. And in the lower left hand corner, we have Sigurd's foster father and blacksmith, Regan. He is the one that reforged Grom for Sigurd after it was broken under Sigmund's command. So for Regan, he's the one that told Sigurd about the dwarven treasure that's guarded by Fafnir. Sigurd goes down, kills Fafnir, and while he's cooking Fafnir's heart, going back to his lore, when he tasted the blood from the heart, he starts to gain knowledge from the animals nearby. The birds start to tell him, hey, this dude Regan plans to murk you and take the treasure for himself. So knowing of this, he had to get to him first, and that's what ended up being Regan's downfall. Again, he is the older brother of Fafnir, which is why he knew about the treasure in the first place. Fafnir originally being a dwarf that turned into a dragon. Man, plotted on by your own foster father. That is devious. This is the guy that we're gonna have to watch. If Sigurd shows up, that's gonna be bad business, because contrary to all of the stuff that went down in the Lost Belt, Sigurd still hasn't appeared in the Holy Grail War. So that would be dope. Here's the kicker. For this one, we have Oslab, who is in fact Sigurd and Brynhild's daughter. But coincidentally, she's also Ragnar's third wife. So we got 3 wives in one series. It's a family reunion. What's the problem? This is crazy. Sakurai, what were you thinking? Nah, I gotta see that. You know what type of mayhem that's gonna cause? She is in the archer class. She's a Valkyrie. Her job is to come down and select warriors that will go to the Garden of Freya or the Hall of Odin over in Valhalla after their death. She does come with the wolf as her familiar. And here's a twist. According to the prologue, she doesn't remember who Ragnar is. You have Remina. She used to be a part of the Igmalenia family. Of course, if you remember, after the events of Apocrypha, they are no longer around. So she ended up going her own way. She is the master of both Oslab and Ragnar, 2 servants. That seems to be the premise for this Grail War. It's literally titled the Double Category War. It takes place in Norway, so by default, she should have the upper hand, just considering that it's their homelands. Can't imagine how she's gonna blow that. Then we have the man of the hour, again a Viking and Danish king, Ragnar. He comes together with Oslab in a similar fashion to Stay Night. He's been summoned into the Berserker class. Like I was saying before, he has tons of adventures under his belt. But the most important, I figure, would be his campaign against Charles II. And Charles actually copped it. He didn't want any smoke, so he straight up paid Ragnar off just to leave them alone. Then you have Ragnar's demise, which is him being thrown into a snake pit after being captured by the Anglo-Saxons. Fair to say that he is not a fan of reptiles. Definitely wouldn't like Medusa. We also know that he lost his memories too. But yeah, man, this is fire. I remember back in the day when I first did the Siegfried lore and people were on the video like, man, we really need to make Kriemhild a servant. Fast forward to 2022 and here she is. There are a lot of characters that come attached to the ones that we get that can be just as good, if not better, given the right circumstances. So I'm glad Sakurai went to take that leap. This will be on the website if you do want to check it out over there. Let me know what you guys think about it. Are you a fan of the premise of the author? How do you feel about the designs? Let me know in the comments. We still got more coming.